I am hearing more and more in the media that the debt of anti-COVID measures is not serious. It is true that we have printed a few $1 trillion and euros around the world. But hey, when you love it, it doesn't count, right? Besides, it's not serious because it is the central banks that buys the debt. Therefore, when you don't pay it back, since it's impossible, it won't be serious because no creditor will be harmed. It will be enough to draw a line through it and poof, there will be no more talk about it. Well, in the same vein, Joe Biden announced in December 2020 that he would seriously alleviate student debt in the US. You have to understand that this is a big problem, a huge problem, since the debt of students who borrow in order to go to university is about $1.7 trillion. As a reminder, the estimated losses of the bank during the subprime crisis was $400 billion. This is nothing less than 45 million young people who have a student loan outstanding in the USA, or 30% of the working population. Therefore, as this becomes an unbearable burden for a third of Americans of working age, the Democratic camp has the bright idea of erasing between 33% and 100% of the debt. Bernie Sanders asks for 100%, and Joe Biden promises to wipe out a third. So what will happen if we erase a few $100 billion in debt? That is what we will see today. Come on, let's go. The idea is as follows. Since the US economy is doing very badly because of the economic measures taken during COVID, consumption must be revived. If you have common sense, you will tend to say that we have to boost the economy, i.e. the production plus consumption partnership. But as re-industrializing a country is complicated, and it is not done in 1 year, politicians prefer to boost the demand since it is enough to give a lot of money to the population. It's fast and it's fun. So let's see what it could look like. Effectively, giving money to young people is the best way to boost consumption because it's the part of the population that consumes the most of what it earns. Therefore, as the 25 to 34-year-olds represent a significant part of consumption in the USA, we can be sure that the $600 billion of Biden's dollars given to young people will go largely into consumption. The problem is that in order to buy, you need sellers. And the problem with that is that the US trade balance has been in bad shape for 30 years. Since the early 1990s, the USA has been importing more goods and services than it exports. The trend is very clear, with the trade deficit widening a little more from one decade to the next. With the crisis of the anti-COVID measures, the situation is bound to deteriorate. Look, on the one hand, the US fabric is deteriorating badly. In New York, about 1 company in 3 is bankrupt, and this will not get any better as the measures to support the economy come to an end. On the other hand, as the US is distributing more and more money to households, demand is not shrinking as fast as supply. In conclusion, if there are more dollars and less to buy, the price of goods and services may well rise. Does this mean that inflation will rise? Not so sure. In fact, inflation has been very stable up to now. But then, where does this price increase go? Until today, the excess demand not satisfied by US companies has been filled by imports. As you can see, the USA mainly imports from China. In normal times, the US deficit with China is about $300 to $400 billion. It is therefore quite possible that the exchange rate of the dollar against the yuan will continue to deteriorate. Because yes, since 2005, when the yuan began to slowly detach itself from the dollar has been structurally falling against the yuan. If you find this hard to believe, you should know that when you include cash at the central bank rate in the calculation, the fall is even faster. So the economic system may well solve Joe Biden's impossible equation by lowering the dollar against foreign currencies, with the yuan in the lead. If it's any consolidation, in many European countries it will be the same. There is another phenomenon that makes the situation worse. Westerners don't work anymore, while Asians work a lot. There is a fairly strong relationship between unemployment and length of schooling. In the West, the time spent studying has increased considerably since the end of World War II. In the USA, 90% of the population completes high school. In addition, it is common knowledge that many university degrees are bullshit degrees, i.e., diplomas that do not lead to employment. Type in Google, bullshit degrees, and you'll get a whole bunch of rankings of the most useless education in terms of getting a job. As a result, the employment participation rate, which measures the percentage of people between the age of 15 and 64 who are employed, has been falling since the early 2000s. The USA, like many Western countries, is working less and less. On the other hand, the share of service jobs in relation to industry has also increased significantly. Today, services account for 80% of US GDP. Once again, in Europe, it is more or less the same. So, beware. Yes, it is normal that the share of the tertiary sector is increasing in rich countries, but we must distinguish the two phenomena. In one case, the share of the tertiary sector is increasing because society is producing more and more knowledge and high value-added services. The share of industrial production is also increasing, but it is always smaller in relation to the immense value created by services. In both cases, the tertiary sector is growing because the share of the industrial sector is stagnating or shrinking due to relocation, while the tertiary sector is growing. It is not the same thing. Here is the growth of the industrial sector in the USA. It is about 1.5% per year. Now, let's remove inflation. The growth of the sector falls to about 0%. So at the end of the day, the USA is well on its way to deindustrialization. On the other hand, the good news is that the USA remains a power of innovation. Silicon Valley is the great 21st century success story of the United States, no doubt about it. American high tech is reigning over the world in an overwhelming way. However, the United States is in crisis, and the trend of a falling dollar against Asian currencies reflects a loss of momentum in the economy. Ultimately, a very large wave of monetary printing by both the Fed and the government will have a very large impact on the dollar and American leadership in the world. Yes, the dollar is still a safe haven in case of a crisis because it is a very deep market, and the entire global financial system is still based almost exclusively on the dollar. On the other hand, there is no denying that the crisis of the anti-COVID measures will deal a severe blow to the dollar king. On that note, see you soon for new videos. Ciao.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like my videos, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell if you want to be notified of the next episode. And if you want to invest in the stock market over the long term or diversify your financial portfolio, I'm offering you an analysis of the 8 European star stocks to have. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.